Hey everyone, welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're diving into a topic today that I think a lot of you are going to find really valuable, especially in the world we live in today. We're going to be looking at self-reflection.
Yeah, self-reflection, that's right. It might seem simple on the surface, right?
Yeah.
Just taking a little time to think about things, but it can actually have a huge impact on how you navigate life, how you understand your own thoughts and emotions, and ultimately, even your actions.
Absolutely. And a tool we've talked about before that can really help with self-reflection is journaling. Specifically, we've mentioned Listallian journals in the past, and those are those premium notebooks that are designed with, things like journaling in mind.
They are, yeah. Those thick ivory pages, that nice soft faux leather cover, they just feel really good to use.
They do. So in this deep dive, what we really want to do is explore how using a journal, especially one that's made for that purpose, like a Listallian, can help boost your self-awareness, help you grow as a person, and maybe even bring a little more balance to your emotional life.
Right. So let's just jump right into it. Why is self-reflection so important? I mean, what makes it such a game changer?
Yeah, that's a great place to start.
Well, one of the most important things about self-reflection is that it creates space. Like, it forces you to pause, to take a step back from the busyness of life and really connect with yourself, which, let's be honest, can be pretty hard to do sometimes.
It really can.
And that connection is the foundation for growth, right? When you start to reflect regularly, you're essentially hitting the pause button and taking a look at your experiences. And over time, you start to see patterns in your behavior, in the way you react to things, even in the choices that you make.
And once you start to see those patterns, I mean, that's when you can start to make real changes in your life.
Right.
It's not just about looking back. It's about figuring out where you want to go and how to get there.
Exactly. It's about taking control. And a journal can be such a powerful tool in that process. It's like having this tangible space, this physical extension of your inner world where you can write down your thoughts and emotions and those moments that really shape you.
Oh, for sure. And the actual act of writing things down can be incredibly powerful. My sister, for example, was going through a major career change a while back, and she felt totally lost, like completely overwhelmed by all the options. She started using a Listallian journal to try and sort through everything.
And did it help?
It did. It really helped her to articulate what was most important to her in a career.
Right.
What were her non-negotiables? Seeing it all written down just brought a clarity that she hadn't had before.
Right. It's amazing how that works. Just getting it out of your head and onto the page can make things so much clearer. And as you keep journaling, you start to build up this incredible archive of your goals, your moments of gratitude, all those little insights that you'd probably forget otherwise. And it takes those abstract ideas and makes them more concrete, more actionable.
Totally. And a well-made journal, like a Listallian, I think, really enhances that experience.
Yeah.
The pages are thick and smooth, they feel good to write on, and just makes you want to keep coming back to it.
Absolutely. The tool itself makes a difference, but let's be real, sometimes that blank page can feel a little daunting. What are some of the things that hold people back from journaling or make it hard to stick with it?
That's a great question. I think one of the biggest hurdles is just not knowing where to start. Like, what do
Yeah.
I even write about?
Oh, yeah, the dreaded blank page syndrome. That's super common. And honestly, one of the best ways to overcome that is to use prompts. Like, a good prompt can give you a starting point, something to spark your thinking.
Like, what are some examples of prompts?
Well, even something simple like what am I most proud of accomplishing this week can help you shift your focus to the positive, right? And I think something like the dashed lines on the pages of a Listallian journal can actually be really helpful for prompts. It gives you some structure without feeling too rigid.
That makes sense. It's like having a little bit of guidance, but still plenty of freedom.
Ah.
What about the emotional side of things? I mean, sometimes when people start journaling, they can feel overwhelmed by their emotions.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why it's so important to make your journal a safe space, a place where you can be totally honest with yourself without feeling judged. Starting small can help. Maybe just focus on neutral things or positive things at first, and then gradually work your way up to the more challenging emotions. And I think the physicality of a journal can be really comforting too. Like the feel of the soft leather cover of a Listallian, it just feels safe and inviting.
It's almost like a security blanket in a way.
Right. Exactly. And then, of course, there's the challenge of consistency.
Yeah.
Actually making journaling a habit.
Yeah, that's a big one.
It really is. And the best way to do that is to just pick a time and stick to it, whether it's first thing in the morning, right before bed, whatever works for you. And having a journal you actually enjoy using, like a Listallian, can make a huge difference. When you love something, you're more likely to use it.
Makes sense. So we talked about prompts being helpful for getting started. Can you give us a few more examples of different types of prompts and how they can help guide our self-reflection?
Sure. Prompts can really help you explore all different parts of your life and your inner world. Like you could ask yourself, what are three things I'm grateful for right now?
Yeah.
That helps you focus on the positive. Or what's one small act of kindness I can do for myself today? That encourages self-compassion. Or even, what's a challenge I faced recently and what did I learn from it? That helps you dig deeper into your experiences and figure out what they mean.
Right. It's like using a different lens to examine different parts of your life. And again, having a journal that lets you write freely, like with those dashed lines in a listallion, gives you the flexibility to adapt to whatever the prompt is.
Exactly. It keeps things flowing. I actually have a friend, I won't say his name, but he was going through a period where he felt completely lost, like no direction, no real sense of purpose. He was bouncing between hobbies, jobs, just trying to figure things out. And he decided to start using a Listallian journal just to see if it would help.
And did it.
Well, at first he was struggling, but he started using prompts. Things like, what activities make me completely lose track of time? And what are my core values when it comes to relationships? And as he kept writing, he started to see a theme emerging.
Oh, interesting. What was the theme?
He realized that he loved solving problems and helping people. And that eventually led him to a career in social work, which he'd never even considered before. He said the journal became this safe space for him to explore those ideas without judgment, and the act of writing them down made them feel more real, more attainable.
That's a great example of how journaling can really lead to big changes. So let's say someone is listening to this and they're thinking, okay, I want to try this. What are some practical steps they can take to start journaling for self-reflection?
Well, first of all, as we've talked about, get yourself a journal that you'll actually enjoy using. And honestly, investing in something high quality, like a Listallian, is a great way to show yourself that you're serious about this.
I agree. There's something about having a really nice journal that makes the whole process feel more special.
Then set aside some time. Even just 10 or 15 minutes a day can make a huge difference. And make it a non-negotiable, like an appointment with yourself. And definitely use prompts, especially when you're starting out. But don't be afraid to experiment with different styles of journaling too. Some days you might just free write. Other days you might do bullet journaling or gratitude journaling or whatever feels right.
That makes sense. Keep it fresh.
And finally, make sure you go back and read your old entries every once in a while. That's where features like the number of pages and the table of contents in a Listallian can be really helpful. It lets you easily find what you're looking for and track your progress over time.
Yeah, it turns it into more than just a notebook. It becomes a record of your journey.
Hmm.
Speaking of which, how does self-reflection through journaling actually contribute to personal growth? Like, what's the connection there?
Well, when you regularly take the time to examine your thoughts and your actions in your journal, you start to develop a much deeper understanding of yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, what you truly want out of life. It's like holding up a mirror to yourself.
And that can be pretty powerful.
It can be incredibly powerful. And journaling gives you a safe space to do that, to really explore your past experiences and see if there are any patterns that might be holding you back. And by writing down your goals and your values, you're essentially creating a roadmap for your own personal development.
And it seems like the design of Listallian journals with those numbered pages and that little pocket in the back for keeping important notes or inspirations really supports that whole process.
Yeah, those little details can make a big difference. They add a level of intentionality and organization that can make the whole experience more meaningful. And to really highlight the impact of journaling, I think it's helpful to look at some of the specific benefits it can bring.
Okay, let's do that. What are some of the ways journaling can improve your life?
For starters, it can dramatically increase your mental clarity. When you write things down, it helps to organize your thoughts, which can feel pretty jumbled sometimes. It's also a fantastic way to reduce stress. It gives you a healthy outlet to process your emotions, to get them out of your head and onto the page. And it can even boost your creativity because when you journal, you're giving yourself permission to explore your ideas without judgment, which can lead to some really cool breakthroughs.
That makes sense. So less stress, more clarity, more creativity.
Exactly. And it also improves your decision-making skills because you're taking the time to reflect on your past choices and learn from them. And perhaps most importantly, it can help you build confidence. When you regularly acknowledge your accomplishments, no matter how small, it reinforces a positive self-image.
Wow, that's a pretty impressive list.
Sure.
But even with all those benefits, there are still going to be challenges along the way, right?
Oh, for sure. Even when you have a solid journaling habit, there are going to be times when you hit a roadblock. Like you might still have those moments where you just don't know what to write. And that's why it's helpful to keep a list of prompts handy, maybe tucked into the back pocket of your Listallion.
Good tip.
Or maybe you're super busy and you feel like you don't have time to journal. And that's where the portability of a Listallion comes in. You can take it with you anywhere and squeeze in a few minutes whenever you can. And then there are going to be times when you're feeling down and you might get stuck in a cycle of negative thoughts. And in those moments, it's helpful to remember that your journal is a space for all your emotions, not just the good ones. And having that space to explore those feelings fully, maybe even using those wider lines so it's easier to read later, it can be really healing.
I'm all about finding a balance, right? Making it a sustainable practice that works for you no matter what you're going through. So how does journaling specifically help with emotional balance?
Well, when you journal, you're essentially giving yourself permission to process your emotions in a healthy way. It's like you're taking them out of your head and putting them on paper, which can create some distance and make them feel less overwhelming. And over time, it can help you become more aware of your emotional patterns and triggers. And again, having a journal that feels safe and comforting, like a Listallion, with its soft cover and plenty of space to write, can make that process a lot easier.
It's like having a trusted friend to confide in.
Exactly. So we've talked about setting a routine, using prompts. What else can people do to make their journaling practice even more effective?
Well, I think finding a dedicated space to journal can be really helpful, like a quiet corner where you can focus without distractions. And maybe even creating a little ritual around it, lighting a candle or making a cup of tea, something that signals to your brain that it's time to reflect.
I love that. And as we've talked about, prompts are key. Having those thought-provoking questions can really guide your self-discovery, like, what's one fear I want to gently explore? Or what's a small step I can take towards a big goal? Or even just what brought me joy today? Those can all spark some really insightful reflections.
And don't forget about experimenting with different styles of journaling. Mixing things up can help keep it interesting. You could try free writing or thematic journaling or even incorporating visuals like drawings or collages.
Exactly. And when you're ready to review your past entries, the organizational features of a Listallion can be incredibly helpful. That table of contents makes it so easy to find specific reflections and track your progress over time. It's like watching your own evolution unfold.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
I have another friend, her name is Maya, and she's a writer, and she was going through a really tough time creatively. Like she felt totally stuck, uninspired.
Yeah.
And she decided to try journaling, and she specifically chose a Listallion because she loved the feel of the paper.
And what happened?
Well, she started using prompts that focused on her creative process, like, what are the stories I'm most drawn to? And what are my biggest blocks when it comes to writing? And she told me that the journal, especially those smooth, inviting pages, gave her a space to be really honest with herself about her fears and her insecurities. She even used that back pocket to keep little quotes from her favorite authors.
That's such a great idea.
And as she kept writing, she started to notice patterns in her behavior, like when she was most likely to procrastinate and what kinds of stories really lit her up. And that clarity gave her the confidence to try writing in a completely different genre, one that felt more authentic to her.
Wow, that's amazing.
It is. And she credits the journal with helping her break through that creative block. So let's recap. What are some of the key reasons why someone might choose a Listallion specifically for their self-reflection journey?
Well, first and foremost, it's that high-quality paper. That 120 GSM paper is so smooth, it makes writing a joy, and it prevents ink from bleeding through, so you can use all sorts of pens. And then there's the fact that it has 211 pages, which gives you tons of space to really explore your thoughts and feelings.
Right, so you don't feel limited.
Exactly. And it has all those organizational features like the numbered pages and the table of contents, which make it super easy to find what you're looking for and keep your thoughts organized. Plus, it's just a really beautiful journal, that soft faux leather cover. It feels so good to hold. And it's durable too, so it can withstand years of use. And it's the perfect size to take with you wherever you go. So yeah, I think it's a really great option for anyone who wants to start a journaling practice.
It sounds like it. And I think we've established that consistency is key when it comes to
Yeah.
journaling. So what are some of the positive changes people can expect to see if they make it a regular habit?
Well, one of the biggest changes is increased self-awareness. You'll start to understand your emotions, your motivations, your patterns of behavior in a much deeper way. You'll also develop greater resilience because you'll have a healthy outlet to process your challenges and figure out what works for you. And journaling can help you become more mindful, more present in your everyday life. It can also help you cultivate positive habits and empower you to set goals and take action. It's a pretty amazing tool.
It is. It's like having this tangible record of your personal growth, which I
Hmm.
think is really inspiring. So, to bring it all home, why is self-reflection, especially through journaling, so crucial in the world we live in today?
I think it's more important now than ever because our world is so fast paced, so full of distractions, that it's easy to lose touch with ourselves. And journaling gives you that opportunity to slow down, to create a space for stillness, and to reconnect with your thoughts and feelings and values. It's a way to find clarity amidst the chaos and cultivate a stronger sense of self. And a well made journal, like a Listalion, can really enhance that experience and make it even more transformative.
I completely agree. So, to wrap things up, I think we've learned that self-reflection, especially through journaling, is a powerful practice for anyone who wants to grow as a person, become more self-aware, and find greater emotional balance. And tools like Lestalian journals, with all their thoughtful features, can make that journey even more enjoyable and rewarding.
That's right. So, as we leave you today, we want to encourage you to think about this. What's one small step you can take to incorporate self reflection into your daily life? And what might you discover about yourself if you give it a try?